They say betrayal cuts deepest when it comes from someone you love. That's a lie. It cuts deeper when it comes from someone you trusted more than yourself. The last conversation I had with my brother ended with him saying, "Don't worry, I've got your back." 12 hours later, I was lying on the cold floor of my workshop, blood seeping through my shirt, gasping for air, staring into the eyes of the man who just stabbed me. Metaphorically, and maybe literally too. It wasn't a robbery, it wasn't random, it was planned. But let me rewind. My name is Alex Grant. I used to be a small-town entrepreneur in Boulder, Colorado. I co-owned a car restoration shop with my younger brother, Luke. We started the business with a handshake, grit, and two classic Mustangs we restored from junk to showroom. People loved us. We were the Grant brothers, hardworking, loyal, a local success story. And I was married to Claire. We'd been together 6 years. High school sweethearts turned married couple with matching tattoos and opposite sleep schedules. She worked nights as a nurse. I worked days rebuilding old engines. We barely saw each other, but we made it work. Or so I thought. It started with small things. Claire laughing too hard at Luke's jokes. Luke dropping by our house more often. I told myself I was imagining it. Paranoia, jealousy, maybe insecurity. Then came the missed calls, the whispered arguments. Then came the day I found Claire's phone unlocked on the kitchen counter. One notification. "Miss you already, L." I stared at it so long the screen dimmed. I didn't throw it. I didn't scream. I put it back exactly where I found it. That night I didn't sleep. Instead I drove to the shop, sat in the dark surrounded by chrome and silence. I waited until Luke showed up for his shift the next morning. I asked him straight. He lied with ease, said I was being crazy, that he'd never do that Claire was like a sister to him. I nodded, said I believed him. 2 days later, I received a call from an insurance adjuster. Apparently, our business insurance policy had been altered. My name had been removed from key documents. Luke had filed paperwork suggesting I was stepping away from the company. The signatures looked real. Too real. I didn't remember signing anything. I called Claire. She didn't answer. That evening, I walked into my own house to find it half empty. No note, no apology, just gone. Her clothes, her dog, her side of the bed. I checked our joint account. Drained. At 2:13 a.m., my brother sent me a single message. "It's better this way." I didn't reply. The betrayal wasn't just personal, it was professional, legal, financial. My name was being erased from everything I built, so I hired a lawyer, started digging, and that's when I learned the truth. Luke and Claire were planning this for months. He'd been manipulating the business documents. She'd been managing the finances. Together, they'd forged a transfer of ownership, slowly, carefully. While I was under the hood of a '68 GTO, they were under the covers, or maybe in the office for all I know. And just when I thought it couldn't get worse, it did. I was called into the police station. Fraud, embezzlement, tax evasion, all under my name. Luke had filed a complaint, brought in doctored spreadsheets, emails he'd fabricated using my old account, said I was hiding money from the IRS, that I was getting unstable and might hurt someone. Claire backed it up. I was processed like a criminal. Mugshot, prints, released on bail thanks to a friend I didn't know I still had. That night, I sat in my car outside the house they now shared, the house that used to be mine. I saw the lights flicker on upstairs, heard laughter, music. A shadow moved across the blinds. Two people, one of them in my hoodie. I clenched the steering wheel so tight my knuckles cracked. I should have driven away. Instead, I stayed, because in that moment, something in me broke. Not my spirit, not my heart, my patience. I realized something they hadn't considered. I built this business. I filed those taxes. I knew every password, every vendor, every detail. I knew where the bodies were buried, metaphorically. They'd taken my name, my company, my wife, my life. But they forgot one thing. I was still alive, and I had nothing left to lose. You don't realize how loud the world is until you lose everything. Then it goes quiet, not peaceful quiet, dead quiet. I spent the next month off the grid, not for drama, but survival. My accounts were frozen. My lawyer dropped the case. It's not winnable, he said. The evidence was stacked too neatly, like someone had choreographed every lie in advance, which I later confirmed they had. Luke and Claire weren't just impulsive cheaters. They were planners. Cold, smart, manipulative. And now they were overconfident. That was their first mistake. They assumed I'd break, crawl away, drink myself into invisibility. They didn't understand who I was before I became Alex the mechanic. I wasn't built in comfort. I was built in fire. Grew up fighting for space, for breath, for peace. This wasn't my first betrayal. It was just the most personal. So I started doing what I do best. Rebuilding, not cars, not this time. I rebuilt myself. I drove south to New Mexico, stayed with an old army buddy who owed me a favor. No questions asked, just silence, a spare room, and access to a laptop. From there, I started pulling threads, quietly, patiently. I traced Luke's shell companies. He'd used Claire's credentials to set up dummy vendors and redirect payments from our shop. He was laundering money, but clumsily. He wasn't as smart as he thought. I started collecting proof, not to bring it to court. No, that system failed me once. I wasn't betting on justice. I was building a story, their story, only told from the inside out. Emails, texts, financial logs. I even found old audio recordings from the shop's security system, conversations they thought no one would hear. Alex will never see it coming. Once his name's off everything, it's ours. He'll be fine. He's not a fighter. Not anymore. Not a fighter? I saved that clip. I saved everything. After 6 weeks, I returned to Boulder, under a new name. I didn't look the same. Grew the beard, changed my posture, started walking like someone who wasn't afraid anymore. Rented a small apartment near the edge of town, where no one recognized me. Then I made my first move. I mailed Claire a printed spreadsheet, just one. It showed a bank transfer, $75,000 wired to a private account under her name. She didn't open that account. Luke did, without telling her, and he'd been withdrawing from it for months. No return address, just one sentence written in black ink. You were never his partner, just a tool. 2 days later, she called him, arguing, crying. I wasn't spying, I was listening. I'd tapped his phone weeks ago. Burner app, encrypted line. He never saw it. That was the first crack. Then I sent Luke an email. Anonymous, untraceable. Subject line, does Claire know about the other one? In the body, you might want to talk to Rachel before Claire does. Attached, 2 photos of him kissing someone who wasn't Claire. The truth? I didn't even know who Rachel was. But I knew he'd cheated more than once. All I had to do was guess the name. Rachel was just bait. The paranoia would do the rest. By the end of the week, Luke had changed his locks, stopped showing up at the shop, and Claire had gone back to her sister's. And I was just getting started. I sent an anonymous tip to the IRS, included records of fake vendors, forged invoices, and payment redirection from company accounts. All real, all traceable, all stolen by Luke. He got audited within days. I didn't stop there. I contacted a local journalist who ran a podcast about small-town corruption. I gave her a story. No names yet, just a blueprint. Business fraud, tax evasion, personal betrayal. She bit hard. By the time the 3rd episode aired, people in town started whispering. The Grant brothers weren't so squeaky clean anymore. I watched from a distance as Luke spiraled, shutting down the shop for days at a time, lashing out at customers, blaming Claire, accusing employees of sabotage. But he had no proof, because there was none, just consequences. Claire reached out once, an email. I don't know what's happening. I think Luke's losing it. I swear I didn't know what he was doing behind my back. If you're out there, I'm sorry. I didn't reply, because I wasn't ready yet. They took everything, but now they were turning on each other, destroying themselves with the very tools they used against me. I didn't have to lift a hand, just push the first domino. But this wasn't revenge, not yet. Revenge would be personal, face to face. This was just the opening act. I always thought revenge would feel like fire. Hot, fast, consuming. But when the moment finally came, it felt cold, not numb, just deliberate. 3 months had passed since I came back under a different name. In that time, I dismantled everything Luke had built on my back. The business was under investigation. Claire had left him. The IRS had frozen his accounts. My lawyer, the one who dropped me, quietly apologized in the press when the fraud came to light. But I wasn't satisfied, because I hadn't looked him in the eyes yet. That was the part I needed. Not rage, not violence, just clarity. So I walked into the auto shop I used to co-own on a Wednesday around noon. I'd timed it. No customers, no employees, just Luke in the garage, hunched over the same workbench we built together when we were still brothers. He didn't hear me come in. I stood there for a few seconds, letting the sound of the ratchet echo. Then I spoke. "You missed a bolt." He turned, wrench still in hand, eyes bloodshot, skin pale. He looked like a man trying to hold on to a lie that was slipping through his fingers. At first, he didn't recognize me. Then his jaw clenched. "You're not supposed to be here." "I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." He dropped the wrench on the floor. "You think you're clever? Hiding behind fake emails, anonymous tips, manipulating everything?" "You mean like you did?" I stepped closer. "Except I didn't stab anyone in the back. I just returned the favor." "You ruined my life," he shouted. "The audits, the podcasts, Claire, she thinks I'm a monster." I didn't flinch. "You are." He laughed bitterly. "You don't know what it's been like. The pressure. You walked around like everything was fine, like you were better than me. You had the business, the respect, her. I earned all of it. You didn't deserve her." There it was. Truth. Finally. I took another step forward. "And you did." He didn't answer. Just stood there shaking, like his body didn't know whether to run or throw a punch. "You forged my name. You framed me. You let me get arrested. For what? Some girl you couldn't have in high school? She loved me." "No. She loved hurting me. You were just the knife she used." He went quiet. That one hit. I reached into my coat and pulled out a flash drive. I tossed it onto the workbench. "What's that?" "Proof," I said. "Every document, every fake invoice, every recording, every lie. You already gave it to the press. Not this part. This is the full package. The stuff I kept to myself. Everything tied directly to you, Claire, and the business." He stared at it like it might explode. "I'm giving it to the DA in 48 hours, I said. "Unless you do it first." His voice cracked. "Why are you doing this?" I looked him in the eyes, steady and calm. "Because I'm not like you. You destroy people in the dark. I give them a chance to come clean. I'll go to prison. Maybe. Or maybe you'll cut a deal. Turn over everyone else involved. You've got options. But none of them include getting away with it." Silence settled between us, sharp as glass. He finally spoke, almost a whisper. "I didn't mean for it to go this far." "Yeah," I said. "You never do. But it always does." I turned to leave but paused at the door. "For what it's worth, Luke," I said without looking back, "I actually did forgive you. Right up until you made me crawl through hell just to get my name back." I walked out without waiting for a response. The next morning, a local news alert lit up my phone. Breaking: former business owner confesses to multi-year fraud scheme, surrenders evidence to DA. Luke did the right thing. For once. Claire never showed up again. Last I heard, she'd moved to Oregon. Maybe she thought starting over would erase what she did. I hope she's wrong. As for me, I didn't rebuild the old life. I didn't want it. Instead, I bought a small garage in another town. I keep my head down, fix what's broken, help kids who want to learn something real. I don't tell people what happened, because that part of me, the version that trusted too easily, doesn't exist anymore. I'm not bitter. I'm awake. And I've learned something valuable. The worst betrayals don't come from strangers. They come from the people who smile while stabbing you. That's the first thing I learned after it was over. The silence that came afterward wasn't peace. It was something else. Empty, but not quiet. Like standing in the ruins of a house you once lived in. You know you can't stay, but you're not sure where to go either. Luke pled guilty. He struck a deal, turned over the financial trail, named 2 other people involved, took a reduced sentence. Claire's name didn't appear in the court documents. No charges, no headlines, just silence. Like she disappeared into her own kind of sentence. One without walls, but with its own kind of bars. She emailed me once after the sentencing. No apology, just 3 words. Was it worth it? I never replied, because the answer was complicated. No, it didn't bring me happiness. But yes, it brought something better. Control. I took back my name, my story, my dignity. You don't recover by going back. You recover by going forward. So that's what I did. I moved 3 hours north to a town where no one knew me, rented a small shop near a community college. I didn't put my name on the sign, just Precision Garage. Quiet, simple, enough to keep my hands busy and my head clear. I started offering free workshops to local students, kids who wanted to learn something real, not theory, skill. One of them, Ethan, reminded me of myself at 16. Quiet, sharp, always watching. He didn't trust easily, neither did I. One night after class, he stayed late, asked me why I left Boulder. I told him the truth, but not the details. Someone close to me did something unforgivable. I lost everything, and then I built something better. He didn't ask more, just nodded. It hit me then. Maybe that's what rebuilding really is. Not fixing the past, but helping someone else build their future. Over time, the tightness in my chest started to loosen. The anger never fully left, but it stopped driving the car. I started sleeping through the night, started laughing again, started calling my mom once a week instead of once a month, started remembering who I was before the betrayal, not the man I became during it. There's this idea that strength means shutting off, going cold, walking alone. But maybe real strength is something else. One day, a former customer from Boulder recognized me. He asked if I was the Alex Grant. I said yes. He looked at me for a long second and said, "They tried to bury you." "Yeah," I said, "but I wasn't dead." That moment stayed with me, because the truth is, for a while I was buried. By shame, by anger, by betrayal. But I dug myself out, not with rage, with work, with discipline, with small decisions made every day to not let what happened define me. I kept one thing from the past, the flash drive. I never deleted it, not out of spite, but as a reminder of what I survived, of who I became, and of what I refuse to become again. I see betrayal differently now. It's not just about pain, it's about clarity. Betrayal strips away the fantasy, shows you exactly who someone is. The mistake is thinking that clarity means closure. It doesn't. Closure is what you choose to do with the truth. I chose to build something that couldn't be taken from me. Not a business, not a reputation, but self-respect. Something no one can forge, fake, or frame. So was it worth it? Ask me now and I'll tell you this. It was never about revenge. It was about restoration. And for the first time in years, I feel like I'm finally home. I didn't expect to see Claire again. Not after everything, but pain has a way of circling back. Not to reopen the wound, but to test whether it's actually healed. It was a Thursday morning, early spring. I was closing up the garage after a long shift when I saw her standing across the street. No warning, no message. Just there, watching. She didn't move, didn't wave. So I turned off the lights, locked the door, and walked straight toward her. She didn't flinch. "Why are you here?" She exhaled like she'd been holding that breath for years. "I didn't know where else to go." "You had plenty of choices," I said. "You just didn't pick me." She nodded. "I know. I could have walked away. 5 months ago I would have. But something about the way she said it, "I know," made me stay. She didn't look broken. She didn't look proud either. Just honest. "I'm not here to make excuses," she said. "I've told myself every version of the story that made me feel less guilty. None of them hold up." I didn't respond. She didn't expect me to. "I lost everything too," she added. "Luke's in prison. My name's trash in Boulder. I can't walk into a hospital without someone whispering. And? And that's fair," she said. "I deserve that." We stood in silence for a long time. She looked down at the ground. "Do you ever think about it? About what? Who we were, before it all fell apart?" I let the question hang. Sometimes, I admitted, but then I remember who we became. Her eyes softened, but I didn't. Not anymore. I've changed, she said. Not because I had to, because I wanted to. I'm in therapy. I'm working at a clinic in a town where no one knows me. I don't expect forgiveness. Good, I said, because you're not getting it. That might have sounded cruel, but it was the most honest thing I'd said in a long time. Forgiveness isn't something you owe. It's something you offer when it means something. And in this case, I wasn't there yet. She took the hit without blinking. I get it. Why come here then? To tell you something, she said. I'm pregnant. The words hit harder than I expected. It's not Luke's, she added quickly. It's not anyone's from that past life. It's mine. My decision. My future. I didn't know what to say. I'd imagined hundreds of scenarios where she came back. None of them looked like this. She wasn't asking for help or sympathy, just to be heard. I want to raise this kid right, she said. To be honest about my past, to make different choices, better ones. I nodded slowly. That's all anyone can do. She looked at me, and for the first time I didn't see the woman who betrayed me. I saw someone who'd been broken and had chosen to rebuild, the hard way. We said goodbye without saying it. She walked away. I let her. I haven't seen her since. But that meeting stayed with me. Not because it reopened the wound, because it closed it. Some people think revenge is about pain. Others think it's about justice. But for me, it was about clarity. I needed to know who I was when everything was stripped away. I found out, and I was still standing. Months later, Ethan, the kid from my workshop, told me he got accepted into a trade program across the state. Said it wouldn't have happened without my help. Said he wanted to open his own garage one day. He asked if I'd come visit when he did. I said yes without thinking. That night I opened the drawer where I kept the flash drive, the one with all the records, the evidence, the damage, and I deleted it. Not because I forgave, because I no longer needed it. The past isn't something you erase, but you don't have to live inside it either. Sometimes I walk past the mirror and barely recognize the man I've become. Not because he's colder, but because he's clearer. I know who I am now. I know what I've survived. And more importantly, I know what I'm no longer willing to carry. Some scars don't fade, but they stop bleeding. And sometimes that's enough. It's strange how life keeps moving even after yours falls apart. You'd think betrayal would stop the clock. That loss would freeze time. But no, the world keeps turning. Bills still come. Coffee still brews. Engines still break. And slowly, you either rebuild or you rot. I chose to rebuild. Not because I'm noble. Not because I moved on. Because there was nothing left to destroy. The truth is, there's no final moment when you suddenly feel healed. No switch flips. What happens is simpler. You stop needing answers. That's when the real recovery begins. I kept the shop going. I didn't expand, didn't advertise, just word of mouth. The kind of place people trust because it doesn't ask for attention. I taught part-time, took in students who reminded me too much of myself. Quiet kids, angry ones, the ones who don't fit. I saw them all. I didn't fix them. That's not how it works. But I gave them tools. Some showed up just for something to do. Others stayed longer. One of them, Nate, dropped out of school, came in every day, and by the end of the semester was rebuilding transmissions better than I could. He reminded me why I started, why I kept going. Not for revenge, not even for justice, for meaning. See, betrayal doesn't just hurt, it empties you, makes you question who you were and whether that version of you even mattered. But if you keep going long enough, if you stay quiet long enough, something starts to form in the silence. A new self, not better, just clearer. One night I asked Nate why he kept showing up. He shrugged. This is the only place I don't feel like a problem. That hit me harder than anything Luke ever said, because I remember feeling that exact same way, like I had to earn my place, just to exist in peace. I told him what no one told me. You're not a problem. You're a builder. You just don't know it yet. Months passed. Claire never reached out again. I didn't expect her to. Luke sent a letter from prison, handwritten, 7 pages. He apologized, took accountability, told me he was working in the prison's maintenance program, trying to stay clean, stay useful. I read it once, then locked it in a drawer. I didn't write back, because the point of forgiveness isn't to restore what was, it's to acknowledge what will never be again. Sometimes I still hear my name in unexpected places. A guy at a gas station mentioned my garage to someone else, said it saved his truck and his wallet. A former customer from the old shop sent me a note, said she heard what happened, and she believed me. I didn't need her belief, but it landed all the same, and sometimes I still get angry. Not explosive, just sharp flashes, a moment when a song plays or someone walks a certain way, or I see a pickup truck that looks too familiar. But the anger doesn't own me anymore. It just reminds me I'm alive, not just surviving, living. I've thought a lot about legacy. People think it's about money or names etched in plaques, but I've learned it's quieter than that. Legacy is what you leave behind in other people. A lesson, a warning, a reason to keep going. Luke left one legacy, a cautionary tale. Claire left hers, a choice I'll never make again. But I've started leaving mine too, with students, with small kindnesses, with every hour I give to someone who needs direction but doesn't know how to ask for it. Legacy isn't about being remembered. It's about what you build when no one's watching. There's one last thing I'll say. I don't tell people my full story, not unless they need to hear it. Not because I'm ashamed, I'm not, but because some truths don't need to be repeated. They just need to shape who you become. And if someone ever asked me how I survived it all, the betrayal, the lies, the loss, I'll tell them this. You don't survive betrayal by fighting fire with fire. You survive it by refusing to burn.